and the only thing that wasn't gonna be commoditized was brand, and then the ability to execute a product that was at least within the circumference of the competitive set. But this ideology of like, we have the best product, no you don't. You think you do, just like everybody thinks their kids are the cutest. Did America say that you're Miss America? You know? So that's how I think about stuff.
How do you look towards growing, you know, because we live off of memberships and those kind of things, in a very competitive, tight space, right? Like, because they want me to move into a place where there's 6 other places around the corner. Right? So
yeah, I mean, look, and it's fun to have some franchisors in the building. Like, this has become such an intriguing space for me. First of all, what's really interesting is when you're a franchisee, I'm trying to calibrate in my mind this half-pregnant entrepreneurship DNA. And it's not a negative. You know what, I'm actually never gonna say half-pregnant again. I'm not kidding, because I use it because I love entrepreneur. Like, it's a very interesting idea where you're in between employee and entrepreneur. Like, that's why you signed up for it. Like to me, the thought of being at the mercy of the franchisor is devastating. I don't even have a board. I don't have investors. Like, I don't know what to do, because if I think this is right, like, this is why I hated school. This is why I hate anything that contains me, right? Like, even like comms, I'm like, hey, I hope you know what you're signing up for. Like, you'll tell me, but like, I have no idea what's gonna come out of my mouth. You know, like, I think, look, first of all, anything the franchisor wants, you have to be empathetic. This is not a negative. It's in their best interest. And that's fine. That's amazing. That's business. But you have to, that'd be the first thing I would calibrate. If you were my brother, I'd be like, okay, let's first understand that they want you to do that because they want you to do that. That has nothing to do with you. You're a commodity, even though, like, it's just the truth. It's okay. I think that's not a negative. That's number one. Yeah. And number two, what are you able to do that distinguishes yourself that still stays within the lines of the franchisor's rules? Yeah. I don't know enough about CrossFit's rules. Every franchisor has different rules of like how hardcore, how loosey-goosey. They all run, but I would have
super basic. It's use the name, have people trained. And so
yeah, I mean,
with that structure, but I'm also working on rebranding, obviously, so that we have more flexibility and experiences we can create.
And do they allow that?
100%. Yeah,
okay, great.
Literally, the requirement is username. We agree to use the name, and it's a marketing agreement.
Yep.
CrossFit's license, not
Yeah,
franchise.
right. It's literally
got it.
Use the word CrossFit.
Yep.
And you have to get trained by CrossFit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're talking about, there's two separate conversations here. One, is the location right? Is just a classic supply and demand conversation. Yeah. Is the rent worth the natural foot traffic you can, or the way I now think about it, which is not 1987 anymore, where you just get the traffic because there's a Whole Foods or a mall or what have you. It's how much do I like the 2-mile radius of Facebook and Instagram ads against it. That's how I think about it now.
I like that, it's a good metric.
I think that's what I would do. Tim Ferriss did something super smart when he did the 4-hour work week. I mean, I heard about it like 13 years ago, and to this day I still think about it, because I didn't do it, and I wish at some level, it's so smart, and I do it with my content. I'm doing something incredibly interesting lately with my content. We call it the machine. I'm running the same video on Instagram with 7 different thumbnails and titles, seeing which one over indexes, and then I'm posting it organically on my page. And they've done much better. I think one thing you could do is almost run an ad on Facebook and Instagram on a fake gym that doesn't exist, and say coming soon, and just seeing what people react to, and be like, and just getting a sense of, like, I would almost run a fake gym with maybe another popular brand, whether it's Equinox or Barry's or whatever, or Orange Theory, whatever, and run it on like 15 different like mile radiuses, or like if you have 4 options of locations, and just seeing where there's more demand. I mean, for $1,000 you can get a read on if there's more demand than not.
Yeah, really.
So what worked from a operational side of things? Like, when did you get did you get a chief operating officer? What kind of worked, but also what didn't work, and kind of the why, I suppose.
It's a great question. So I always overhire, always, because I'm anticipating growth, and that's how you grow.
Overhire as in
Well, you'd like to think that you're getting the quality, but yes, to your point, like, I was like, you seem nice, you're hired. Like, that was like literally how it went for like the first 300 people, because I was willing to fire. And I don't like to fire. I'm kind of like, I'll turn this bad boy around, like that kind of DNA. So it was a really interesting like double play on my side, which is I talk about hiring fast and firing faster, but I also don't love firing because I was so into being operational and trying to fix in parallel. I think a lot of this comes down to knowing yourself, first of all. So I'll give you a very good piece of advice. I genuinely believe this, and I've seen this everywhere. Hiring around you on the things that you don't want to be doing is unbelievably powerful. I couldn't be more bullish on it. If all of you right now just truly take a step back and say, what do I do every day that I don't want to be doing, and hire for that, I couldn't be more. The reason a COO has never worked for me, not my dad, not my brother, not James Orsini, is because I'm an operator. And I love it. And I'm willing to leave money on the table because I know if I'm a CEO, I could probably generate more top of the funnel business. But I love the challenge of operating. It's the game. I like it. Oh, Rick should be there, or Susan should take that account, or we'll create this I love operating. I'm good at it. That's why we're not vulnerable. Like, when you hunt, you got to be able to farm it. And when you know how to operate, that's where most entrepreneurs lose. They can get the business, but she or he can't operate it, right? So I would highly recommend hiring around you. So if you're thinking about COO, are you just so overwhelmed, or are you trying to be more physically out there? But then if you're trying to be physically out there, look, nothing excites me more for B2B businesses today than running content ads on LinkedIn against the employees of the people you know you're trying to reach. Like, your business is so, dude, as somebody who's been in B2C and B2B, B2B is easier. Like, when you know who you're trying to reach, it's easier. I don't know who the fuck drinks wine or wears sneakers. Like, but when you know that literally the companies you're trying to reach, you can run ads right now against employees of that on LinkedIn, and all you have to do is make content that is valuable to them instead of saying, sign up now. Instead of an infomercial, make a B2B magazine. Could be even not even about your own product.
Yeah, I mean, so we've got this big, so the reason I'm here is we've got this big conference coming up, happens every year, American Library Association conference.
Yep.
It's in DC actually, in June, but we have a 20 by 30 booth, and we're talking about taking a video team with us, but we're going to interview not just our customers, but like other vendors in the industry and that kind of stuff. And
the second, obviously you know enough about me to know this. The second everybody here can be the voice of the industry and bringing value to everybody in the funnel, the quicker they win. It's what I learned with Wine Library TV. I started that to do QVC, and within the episode, intuitively I needed to become the wine spectator, not QVC, and it changed the course of my life. And I've done it ever since. Guys, there are hundreds of agencies that literally just watch my content and get clients that we're trying to get with the same words. I mean, like, think about what's going, like how much I believe in it. It's coming out of my own short-term pockets. I'm really giving my best shit. Mm-hmm. What?
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, but think about how interesting that is. Like, right? Like, it's a really like, it's kind of, not that I'm knowledgeable enough about the Bible, but like I get it thrown at me. It's like quite biblical. It's like, just like, it's truly that. So like you're the greatest thing you could do at this DC conference besides be successful and do your thing is to listen to the problems that they're all facing and put out content that addresses it or makes fun of it. Like, you couldn't imagine, the amount of 2-minute videos made that is like a skit by comedians that make fun of library culture is zero. Every single fucking person in the industry would share a video that was funny about the 11 truths in your business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the cliche shit.
Yeah.
Like the Dewey Decimal System shit? Yeah, like that. Like you should, like, like.
There's a character show that.
Oh, if you guys did a Dewey thing, if you like dug up Dewey,
I think there is a podcast actually.
like the punchline is for everybody here, content that actually brings value to the end user, game over.
Yeah.
If you did it back to CrossFit, I mean, the big cliche thing I hear all the time is like people get hurt. If you just put out a content series, and that might struggle with corporate, and I have empathy for that, but if the content series in theory was just like, how not to get hurt and like just deep knowledge on like the cliche 44 reasons why people do. You get over competitive, you lose your form. I don't know what the fuck.
Better than the
I
automotive
don't-
thing, don't compare your car to your thing.
I believe in that shit. I believe.
100% can do that.
I put out so much content with the hope that nobody ever hires us. I'm not kidding, because enough people will. And that's how you build brand and sentiment and like karma and like a whole lot of other things. Plus, there's one thing that I always have, which is I know that I'm always going to be good at emerging trends. I'm not scared to give away all my social media advice because I know I'm going to be great at voice and AR and machine learning and blockchain. And like I'm the same thing, just, you know. You're welcome.
All right, so I have two kind of
Yep.
questions. So the first one is where I get mixed up a lot is that we have two audiences, right? So we're selling franchises to $1 million net
Yep.
worth investor.
Yep.
But then our end user, who's their
Yep.
client, is
Yep.
a hairstylist
Yep.
making $50,000
Yep.
a year.
Yep.
So creating or how to differentiate our company to these different audiences. And then the second piece is, we've been
I think one thing you can do is the logo could focus on the end user addressers, and then the humans, whether you or somebody else, could focus on the franchisees. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
First of all, you or somebody and the logo of the company should have separate accounts. There's a VaynerMedia account, there's Gary Vee, there's Wine Library, right? So if you think about the nature of it, the brand can really focus on the end, and you can focus on the B2B part with occasional reference to the end.
Having two distinct user accounts or two distinct.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm also extremely comfortable with the account doing both. Some people may find it intriguing on the back end business stuff. It's not the end of the world. Most of this stuff is not about organic anyway. It's about paid amplification. So, but I think there's a natural for you guys to have a human face for the B. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then the second one is, so we've been creating content and putting it out there with very little success. I don't think our competitors are doing it great, but how do you set benchmarks for your team to hold them accountable? How do you know when to fire? If I say, hey, our digital stinks now, I could fire everybody.
Business results.
I mean, we're doing good, but I don't think we're knocking it out of the park with digital, by any means.
So fire.
Fire.
Yeah, there's no benchmark. That's a she or he decision.
Okay.
What you'll learn is, it's like breaking up with a boyfriend and then thinking 2 boyfriends down the line, was I wrong about Rick? Because he's been a lot better than Stan and John. Maybe I fucked up. That happens, but that's the true answer, right? To me, it's are you happy with your business results from the thing? And if you're not, business results, not how many likes or shares or followers, business results, right? And if you're not, that's attributable to that, you break up with Rick and you just hope that was right.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone in my space do it really well, so it's
And are as well trying to get the $1 million people into the funnel, or as well on the end user?
I would say both.
Okay.
Both. I mean,
Yep.
we're all in franchising really dependent on brokers, especially at that $1 million investment level versus, like a CrossFit or a fitness, the owner-operator models of 100, 200, and 1,000 to invest are pretty easy organically, but that $1 million investor, it's been a little harder to tap into organically.
It makes sense, because I think to get that person, you need to be making a show about the whole concept of franchisees, not about your specific content.
Right, okay.
You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
You need to become the back of Inc. magazine, and you know what I mean?
We're in it, listen up.
But I mean, but you need to become Inc.
Yeah, okay.
This is where I keep going into that. You need to interview 365 days a year somebody who's successfully run a franchise,
Okay.
to inspire the people to listen to that, to then get into the potential funnel of considering you.
Yeah. And see, that's where I think those two audiences come back in. That's not
Correct.
relevant to the
Nope,
salon
it's not.
professional by
And so
any
you
means.
make that and you run that on LinkedIn, right?
Okay,
And then on Instagram, you see what I mean?
Mine is stay with the brand, move on to kind of a new brand idea.
Fuck, that scared the shit out of me.
It's called Cebu. It's our private label, hair care. It does have its own website. It has no brand awareness. We have links from that platform onto our other salon sites. So we do a little business online.
Okay.
And a little bit more now that, everybody understands what a CTA is, an email marketing. But the issue is, could we create something bigger and better? that actually solves to a bigger purpose, not just selling Cebu, but it allows indie brands to have a bigger site to be able to launch their brands.
As long as you understand how big of an ambition the sentence that just came out of your mouth is, what you just said in that sentence is usually a $50 million to $100 million funded startup with deep two-way marketplace DNA. The answer is you could, but there's, people sometimes ask me, hey Gary, God, you were so early at all these tech companies, this and that, like, why don't you have an app? Why don't you have a company? I'm like, because I don't want to, because I don't think it's my strength. I don't think I'm the founder of Uber or Facebook or Twitter. Like, you're also talking about at a time where Shopify and Amazon are gonna grow at scale. So for you to create a third-party marketplace, like an infrastructure to be a WordPress on the e-commerce in Magento, you're going into shark territory, which you could win within a small niche. But you have to make sure that you guys have the DNA to actually, like, as long as you, like, notice I'm jumping in because I want to make sure you realize that that's not, like, everything so far has been like a pass away. Like, that is a huge, like, meaning, not to undermine, it's like, it's doable. Yours is doable if you're gonna build $1 billion business that's like a real big thing.
Right.
And I think people throw around this theory very nonchalantly in the business world. Every day, I get we're gonna be a marketplace. I'm like, there's like 6 marketplaces. Like, it's like Yahoo lost being a marketplace. So yes, I just wanna make sure that you understand, like I'm giving you a reaction to make sure you understand how grand that is.
Yes, I do. I've actually started a website
I believe you.
before, and it's
I'm sure.
monstrous in terms of the money and the time and the people.
At this time, when it's never gonna be easier or less friction to do short-term sales through the Shopify and Amazon ecosystem, it's not about it's not the macro thesis, it's the thesis at this moment in the emergence of those 2 specific platforms that gives me just pause to think about it. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, my worry is if we stay with what we're doing, at some point, I don't know how relevant what we're doing today on e-com is gonna be.
Speak to me about that. When you say, I just wanna make sure I'm following along. You mean how relevant that one brand will be?
Yes.
So look, I mean, it's not a very complicated thing. To your point, you just have to understand if you're looking to become, a platform or a product. Are you gonna be Smartwater, or are you gonna be, it's not Walmart, but it's a QVC, right? They're just 2 very different things. I will say this, I believe that it's ironic, I'm gonna take a little bit of a different stance. I think we're walking into the golden era of the capability of direct-to-consumer brands at scale. You're gonna be competing, but the opportunity to have the leverage, I mean, think about the nature of being a product. You were always at the mercy of your distribution.
Yes.
You're not going to be. And so that's exciting. It's now how good is the product and how good are you at building a brand around a product versus how good are you at building a platform and building a brand about the platform. I think that becomes the debate. But I wouldn't run away from being a brand because a lot more brands are coming. I would try to I see the positive in DTC more so than the negative. I really do. Because the ability to compete against everybody else's DTC is, I think, more of a fair fight than competing with the hope that Sephora carries you. There was major toll booths that kept all the margin. The retailers have won the leverage game over the last decade.
Right.
So I think that's the question. I'm excited about DTC. I just think you have to be the best. Olive oil, let me rephrase. You have to be I think the long tail of DTC is more fruitful than the long tail of marketplace.
Got it.
See where I'm going?
I do.
That's my point of view on it. And I'm spending a lot of time in that world. A lot.
I think to piggyback on
Please.
that, for us, we've got 10% of our sales, so we've got $500 million in sales. 10% comes from product, and then 90% from service, right? The 10% more profitable, better margin for us. We have a site, our own haircuttery.com, and we trying to, how do we build that name and thought was, do you build a different site that allows you to attract more eyeballs to it to sell our product off of versus haircutter.com?
Or you could just, what is the brand called? What about building?
Well, we do that.
That's correct, but we sell, our concern is the 10% we sell right now, you can buy anywhere, Amazon, you can buy from the website of Paul Mitchell, you can go to Amazon, buy. Our concern is, are we gonna lose that 10%? Because we just.
You're gonna lose it if you're not thoughtful about it. But if your site has an added layer of value, like a club that creates content or access, I think you should immediately start creating a weekly, monthly, yearly special SKU only available in your world. So like if you're formulating new products, you know, one of the things I'm trying to push a lot of my CPG brands is to create a super premium version. So like I'm literally trying to sell like $100 ketchup that only comes out during the holidays. You can only buy on their .com. So I think what's amazing is, I think this is fun. My natural DNA is always to look at the offense of a scenario versus the defense. Your defensive point of view is absolutely correct. There's far less friction to buy from Amazon when you're buying your deodorant and your, you know, peaches and then throw yours in. But you actually fucking own the product. So your ability to create a club, so if you're buying your stuff, you're in the club, and I have no idea what you want to add on to that. Because you have, one more time, and I'm trying to remember. So you got this product, then you have salons, right?
We do, we sell them in salons, and then our products also sold on Amazon.
Right, and then you have your own salons.
Which we sell about $6 million worth of this product.
Of this product, but the salons are yours?
Yes.
I mean, look, in theory, you could tell the end consumer that they get a 5% discount on their salon work if they buy the product on your site. You have all the advantages. I'm a big fan of fucking Amazon before it fucks you. That's what I did with Facebook. Facebook didn't fuck me, and it was like, Facebook, I built myself off of it. You have the leverage. You can use Amazon to get people into your ecosystem and then remarket to them as the brand by printing something on the back of the fucking bottle that says join club, like, so I think it's a concept of, I don't think it's as black and white as the convenience of the lack of friction of shipping or cost. I think it's what are you gonna do to the product and what are you gonna layer as bells and whistles, added value that forces everybody. I actually genuinely believe that the smartest brands are gonna fuck Amazon, not the other way around, if they're very thoughtful to some of the stuff I just referred to. When you build added value around buying it from you at the same price, you win. Now you can use Amazon as your gateway drug to acquisition.
Sure.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, appreciate it.
Other question I had is, you know, we're gonna talk later on the agenda about culture.
Yes.
We have a very strong intentional culture, and, you know, founded business by Dennis Ratner, and he's really created that culture, which we've got a lot of tenure in our business, but we're projecting it out over the next 10, 15, 20 years, and, from a legacy perspective. And how do we keep that culture, and how do we actually make it stronger? So any recommendations on how you believe culture here, for example, and what you're trying to do to create a legacy, and what you'd recommend?
You know, you've already kind of won. Even if there's 98%, let alone 100% truth behind your statement, you've already won. The ambition for legacy already changes behavior. I think this is a big game of firing. I think the biggest challenge for people that look like me, and sounds like what you guys have, is do you have the stomach for short-term financial pain by firing the most productive, but people that don't actually bring value to the culture? It's a very simple game of like, do you live your truth? It's really easy to maintain culture. Choose culture over money. I really believe it. I live it. I watch it. I see it in companies that I push it into if they're an investment of mine. I really think it's, you know, it's scary when something like that is so simple, but it's like religion. Do you follow it or don't you? Like, and where you choose to bend becomes the variable of how good the culture is. But culture is made up of the humans that are in it at the time. You know? And like, when there's lore, like founder Rick Thompson or Susan Magoo, she always, whoever's the executive of running that, you know, whoever runs VaynerMedia, when I go and buy Smart Water and become the CEO, and that's what's gonna happen. The next chapter of this company is, I'm gonna buy something when the world melts, And when I go run Mountain Dew or Stickers or Puma or whatever the fuck I buy, I'm gonna be at the mercy of her or his capability to uphold what I believed in. And so I think you make it clear. That's why, it's funny to think about America this way, right? Like, how we interpret the Bill of Rights or the Constitution becomes obviously very intriguing. That's what becomes our culture, but having it is already the starting point. But I think it's I believe culture is one big game of, do you have the ability to fire the most productive, worst person? I really believe in that.
And it's not gonna be it's gonna be the Jets you're gonna buy, right?
Yeah, but the way I think I get there is by that in-between move. I really do. I really think the reason I built Vayner and the reason it's built this way and unique in its way is I think I've built something that if I truly bought Smart Water tomorrow, like, it would be a much bigger company after 4 years, based on all the things we've done.
So I'd like to get back to the concept we were talking about company brand versus personal brand.
Please.
Right now, our social media content is kind of focusing on both. We've got our company brand that I focus on probably more than Ari's personal brand. And Ari really is the brand of the company.
Makes sense.
So my question is, my time is limited. I only have so much to put into it. Which one makes more sense to put more time into?
Which one is doing better from your perspective? Are you doing it yourself on your own page at all?
My own LinkedIn page, you mean?
Or wherever you guys are?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yes, correct. Off my own LinkedIn page. And then
You know, what is always the word, I mean, when Harriet was like, I'm sure this is fun to have her in the room, like, when you're in our industry, as she is, and you look at Vayner from the outside, people believe the vulnerability is it's so much about me and not enough about Vayner. And there's real truth to that. If you're an executive at Smart Water, you're like, am I getting a company? Is it Gary? Like, these are the things you need to think about. At the same token, when you kind of start peeling away and you start realizing this is a company that doesn't have to win business through RFPs, and you think about all the dollars, you start having you have a more complicated debate. You know, for me, for example, this is why I'm bringing this up. The thing I'm probably most proud of in the 10 years that I've run this company and built this company is my ability to trick the market of how big it is. My biggest fear was if anybody in the big boy and girl world of advertising understood how big what I was building was going to be, that they were going to focus on it. And you know, I'd never competed against multi-billion-dollar international companies starting from zero. That's a challenge, because if one really understood me, they could just throw money at it. They could, like, if I was the competitor of VaynerMedia 5 years ago, I would have literally emailed every single person on LinkedIn that worked here and said, what's your salary? I will pay you 3 times more, and it would have been the right business decision. So I've purposely not built VaynerMedia's brand because I needed the market, my competitors, to underestimate it and continue to think it's Gary and a bunch of interns, like, who is this charlatan, and like, this can't be real. That was our advantage. From the outside, it's too much about me, right? But what nobody knew from the inside is I have no clients. I've built a scalable company. You know, building up Gary, you would think, oh shit, every client's gonna want Gary. I don't talk to any of them. So I was able to successfully create me as a top of funnel awareness, but then when it became a real meeting, she or he on the other side, the CMO, knew right away, I'm not your account person. I can be in the bat phone business. We can have lunch once a year, but I'm the CEO and executive of this. I don't service your account. You're buying VaynerMedia, you're not buying Gary. That comes down to how he's running his business right now, where you guys are at scale, right? So I guess those are the questions. Are you servicing the business? Is it a vulnerability right now? Is it small enough where we can keep leaning into what is actually working? Do you do a good job once the customer comes into the funnel to realize it's not him? Or is it still him at this point, which is super fine too? That's the right formula for that. Does that make sense?
So to the extent, just to go that one step further, so to the extent that it isn't me doing the servicing, where does that fall into the?
It is not you doing the
It is
servicing?
not.
Okay.
And it's very clear early in the funnel, like, the conversation happens, right? That it's not gonna be, but I still do close almost all the new business.
I get that, and so did I.
Right.
Then I'd probably still, I would say this, if you are fortunate enough to have a face that has all the right personality traits, I'm sure, you know, Harriet's gonna continue to, like, I'm not looking to suppress my people into the press. I just don't want anybody to know who the fuck we are. Like if they like there's strategy to it. So like I think if you still have all the right characteristics, I think if you're fortunate enough to have a founder, if she or he has good characteristics and it's not about ego and insecurity and all those weird things, then you ride that personal brand because it converts better. A human face converts better than a logo often.
The struggle is also his time, because he's the CEO and he's doing all these other things. His time is extremely limited.
That's why I created Document, not Create.
Can I?
Yeah, you can bounce. You can
Yeah.
bounce. We got time.
So then the riff on that, or where we struggle a little bit there, is sort of in the B2B world, right? So we're a small company, about a little over 40 people. The B2B world, some interesting parallels, like our market, since we're looking for companies headquartered very nearby, is a limited market, right? There's maybe like 1,000 companies that could potentially be our clients locally, so we engage there. But the people that we connect to are generally CFOs and CEOs who care very little about the detail of how we execute, but care a lot about the outcomes that they get. So I find that I struggle to see the document versus create, when I feel like a lot of the documentation isn't super interesting to them and wouldn't necessarily get them in.
Makes a ton of sense. So to that point, I agree with you. I don't think you should document and create, which is why we created the model around the podcast or the show. There's two ways to go. And I think when you start inviting them, so you're saying it's literally just like nothing excites me more, and there's a couple here, than to having a regional business to do a show around, because then you get to host a party.
We like parties.
Literally, you guys should literally have every business leader, CEO and CFO on your show. Once you host a party, you win. Like, I've said it a lot, and maybe you've caught on my content. Like, I call this the high school party rule. Like, if you're the kid in high school who's lucky enough that your parents travel on weekends, and you're like a C-level popular kid, the second you throw the junior year party at your house, you go from a C to an A- in popularity, because you're letting the A+ make out at your house.
So where do we get to figure out? So where do we figure out how to get that? What that good content is? Like where that?
Do a show where you
thread.
interview businesses in the Hartford area.
Okay.
Literally, once you establish some macro show, like whether you call it, New England this or Hartford that, create a macro framework for it.
Yeah.
And now you're emailing literally the people you want to do business with, saying, we're intrigued by your leadership, we'd love to have you on the show, versus emailing them saying, we want your business.
We're already doing that now at scale. It's so obvious.
Scale.
Yeah.
Scale.
I think to add another wrinkle to it is not only is it businesses, it's manufacturers, high-tech manufacturers, so it's even more niche.
Love. It's even better. Like, they don't get any fucking love.
Yeah.
Like, what fucking podcast wants them on their show? Nobody. No, really, this is really quite crazy. I know you know it, you're feeling it intuitively. Like, imagine a world, this played out extremely for me real quick, just to bounce around a little bit. On the Pure Wow and 137 side, we have podcasts. We just launched a show called the CMO Podcast. I got Jim Stengel, who's like the former CMO of Procter & Gamble. He's like the legendary CMO to all the current CMOs, because Procter was Procter. He's the host. And literally, the CMOs of the biggest companies in the world are literally coming through our door every day to be on a show. Imagine an hour, you will get everybody to say yes that you've been dying to have a conversation with about a business if you say, come to my office and sit with me for an hour, and I'm gonna interview you about your leadership, your business, your thing. They're literally walking into your fucking company. And if you really have the discipline to not sell and say nothing, nothing, inevitably she's gonna be on the way out, or he's on the way out, gonna say, what do you guys do here? I don't know. Oh, really? Actually, I fucking hate my people. Why don't you call it? I'm gonna put you in touch with Rick Thompson, who runs our.
100%. 100%. No, easily. Yeah, no,
By the way, there's nothing easier than to be a host of a podcast. You ask 8 basic questions. How'd you get into this? What's been going on? It's super crazy.
It's challenging.
I know, it's super obvious, and what's scary about super obvious is how well it works.
Yeah.
Back to what I think about all the times. The reason I put out everything is I do not believe my ideas, even though a lot of times they're early and well thought out historically, are my special sauce. My execution is my special sauce.
100%.
Right?
Can I ask a question about the digging into how did you scale the business so quickly? So one of the biggest challenges that we have, right, is we've been successful. So our marketing strategy, we're doing a lot more digital now, but has been a lot of, we call it one-to-many. So, they'll book me to go like to the Connecticut CPA Association, do a lot of like just educational content, right? Zero about us, all
But
about.
think about how much if you film that and put on LinkedIn.
Yeah, totally.
I have a lot of footage.
Yeah, and that's what we're
Just
starting
getting
to
through
super
it.
get
Good.
into. So now the challenge we have is like we're almost overselling the capacity, right? And it's not like McDonald's, I just get a bigger fry later and I generate more fries, right? The getting the human capital ahead is a challenge.
People overthink hiring.
Just hire.
It sounds scary. I'm gonna hire a clown, she or he's gonna suck, and I'm gonna lose the client. I'm like, but you wouldn't have the client.
Right.
And when you're willing to bleed, if your ambition's high, I always feel like I'm able to fix.
It's not the bleeding of the money, although I mean clearly that's somewhat part of it.
No, but notice how my analogy wasn't the money.
It was the clients.
I think you're coming from I think most people come from a good place.
I do have a big fear around that of like breaking the brand. We have so much good street cred. There's that huge fear of like fucking up that client.
Bro, everything's fixable.
Yeah, they're at bat. I know.
Give them the money back. Money is not actually the thing. For me, like, I'm never scared because everything's fixable.
Yeah.
I'll give you a year free service. I'll fucking let your son intern here. I'll do whatever the fuck everything's fixable if you have that. This is why I talk so much about intent. This is why I talk about lack of fear. Plus, the biggest mistake a lot of people make is they make a call for the other person. Life's about alternatives. Like, if the client's happy, regardless of what your subjective of like
totally.
our right? It's hiring. I don't overthink hiring. I try my best, I hire.
If it doesn't work.
People have so much ego in hiring. It's just this underlining like insecurity to be wrong. I love when I'm wrong. Ugh, guys, I mean this. Like, you don't know me well enough to like, this is the truth. Like, there's a weird part of me. I don't know if it's like, it's probably a very flawed, like sick part. I get excited sometimes when I hire a very senior person and like a week later I'm like, nope. And I know that for the next 18 months, because right? 18 months. And that's like C-suite, where like you just can't scare everybody that you're just fucking changing it like your underwear, you know what I mean? But like, do you know what that's happened to me twice? A weekend. I'm like, good, fucked it up. And then all the extra work I have to put in to disguise that and like manage it and manage, then 4 months later, the smartest people start saying, wait a minute, I think this person sucks, and you gotta manage that. And then like 9 months later, when the next level of smart people are like, I think this person sucks, and then like, you gotta, like, the game.
So just lack of fear.
Lack of fucking fear. And more importantly, like, no business than, firing. And listen, I'm the worst. I'm a bleeding heart like you would not imagine.
Actually, your piece of content where you talked about,
Yes.
but where you talked about sort of like, you know what, if you can't do it, just fuck it, just overpay them out. So we're just like letting somebody go right now who
Best.
I just feel horrible, like she's got a bad situation. She's only been with us for 3
Yep.
months. I was like, just give her 6 months severance, like whatever.
I do it
Like,
all the time,
just
bro.
Get it, just it's gonna make
Isn't
you
it
feel
great?
better. Her feel like
Dude, at the end of the day, it's not about money out here. It's about like feeling good and happy, and like I understand that my CFO's not happy with me, but that's what I need. I fucking fire people, give them a huge severance, and then I pay them on the side for 2 months. I do so much weird shit. I always think like, man, if somebody investigated me, they'd be like, oh, here's the fucking silver bullet. Why is he paying Rick on the side? Because I'm nice? Like, it's like super weird, but like, it's really, like nobody would ever believe me. Like, if you played that on like 60 Minutes of somebody trying to get me, they'd be like, impossible.
Is it literally just your DNA? Like, is there some like mental mnemonic? Like, I know this is a crazy kind of question, but it's like, because we have sort of similar family backgrounds actually, like Eastern European Jew, like immigrant stuff, right? And like, so, we just, so first of all, beat education. So like when I went off like the lawyer track, my parents were like, oh my God, what's happening,
I got lucky. That's where I got really blessed, and I feel a huge sense of like guilt and gratitude. I can't believe my mom let me get away with D's and F's, where everybody else was like, you're going to fucking Harvard. Like, I got really hit the lotto on that one.
But that perfection was like almost like beat in.
Not mine. Not mine. That's where I'm trying to create clarity. Like, it's why I'm so confident. All that happened in my life was everybody said I was losing except my mom. So think about that. You've won. Like, that's actually the dream. Like, the dream scenario for disproportionate confidence is the world tells you fucking suck, but your mom tells you you're the best. And she's also smart enough to not create delusion. So when you go 0 for 4 in Little League, it wasn't the sun's fault in your eye or like your coaches, it's you suck. So it's accountability, but she fucking crushed it. Like, I am a complete byproduct of, and not only that, I've been hot on my mom's like stuff lately. My dad saved my ass big, because what I was also though, by being such a good storyteller, was I was completely full of shit when I was 14. I would say anything to sell anything. I lied out of my mouth 24 hours a day. And that's who I would have become, and that's what a lot of people think I am at first because of my showmanship, but he corrected me because I got lucky again that my dad thinks if you embellish to him once, embellish. There were 19 people at the party. He's like, there were 8, and that's it. 3 strikes, you're out, I'm not your friend. Literally, like, I don't know a single more extreme version of somebody who's more uncomfortable with exaggeration, let alone lying, than my dad, which over a course of 4 or 5 years of my teenage years scared the fuck out of me. Because it started with like, Dad, I sold 98 bottles. He's like, you sold 6. And then 6 became from 98 to 44 to 13 to 6. And I got, I'm very aware of how this all happened. And then if like it was reversed and my dad was first parenting me and my mom, I would have been a complete nightmare. I would have been insecure and full of shit. So I'm quite grateful. So anyway, I'm sorry, but I wanted to create that clarity. That is important for you to know that part though. And I think a lot of what you're hearing manifests from that.
So,
but I host the party.
Yeah, get back to the hosting of the party.
And let's talk more, because you got 3 seats here, like, and if you have a question, but like,
So I think
go ahead.
I would bounce back to part of the value of this is confirming what we already know. I'm watching already.
For sure.
I know we should be doing that. No. So, and then you get excited when you start to hear like, dude, you guys have it so easy. It's like a niche within a niche. You know the 1,000 businesses.
Ugh.
Geographically, you know where they're at.
Yeah, because geographically gets into branding that I get excited about. Like, to me, I wish, like, just because I know how big I can make something, because I'm an operator, I'm like, man, if I had the New England Business Podcast, it's game over. Give me 1 year.
Manufacturer business podcast is even easier.
Yeah, but like, yeah, that's exactly right.
I think we've been struggling a little bit with like, time out, we've done this, we've done that. Where are the results? Why aren't they calling us yet? Versus this patience.
That
Patience.
is audacity. That's ego. I never think anything. I think I suck. I'm being dead serious. I'm confident.
Yeah, fucking
I could
suck.
genuinely wake up this morning and be like, I could suck for the next year and make a ton of bad decisions, and literally everything I've done is wiped. You know? I believe that. Business is unforgiving compared to sports on this one. In sports, Muhammad Ali can lose to Trevor Berbick in his last fight. We don't know that. I know that because I'm a boxing nerd. You don't know that, right? Business is different. When you lose, everyone then wipes out what you've done well.
Like Boeing.
What's that?
Like Boeing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like the narrative can change very quickly. We shit on Woolworths. It was the dominant retailer in this country for 100 fucking years.
So, on that journey, right? Like, so it's not just in the audacity of expecting why doesn't it happen faster, but there's got to be something to know you're on the right track, right? Is it just content based? Like,
No. The market speaks, your business. I knew I was on the right track because the first 2 years when I was half pregnant on VaynerMedia, we did 3 million in revenue, and the first year I ran it, we went from 3 to 14. That was very obvious. And 14 to 27, like business results.
and that was all based on what? Larger, like less clients, bigger fees, more like.
There's a lot of things I'm good at, and the core thing I'm good at is a mix of the followings. I tend to sell something that most people don't see at first. It ends up being right a lot of times, which creates the back end. But at the time, I'm extremely good at selling in the short term. There was no brand. Twitter, I had a lot of followers, so there was a little something. But what I'm really good at is wasting no time on selling to the unsellable. Like, one of the reasons I'm fascinated by franchise, to become a franchisor, and I'm like, what would I do? Is because I would be incredible at getting franchisees for a couple reasons. One, a lot of entrepreneurs look up to me, and like, so that would be good probably. But after I filled the bucket, it's like empathy. Okay, I've sold my $2 million worth of wine, now I've got another $4 million to sell. Now it's work. In that part, I just don't fucking waste time. Like, I go to a new business pitch, back to the same way I know somebody I fucked up on. I go to a new business pitch, it's scheduled for an hour, I sometimes bounce after 30. Because I decided it's over 3 minutes in. I'm like, she has no interest in me. And I don't have ego to be like, to convince her. I'll give it my best at bat, and hopefully he or she will like it. But I think the reason I was able to grow so quickly is I'm very good at selling and focusing on people that will actually buy.
So get enough people interest and then move on from the.
I think it's funny, back to like what you said, like I never think I deserve anything, period. And look, VaynerMedia is the only company run by somebody who actually has success in doing the work that they do. Like in the whole fucking ad world, like I laugh when people think I'm Gary Vee and don't realize I'm running this company. Like you're doing social media work with an agency that was built to make television commercials? I'm like the fucking poster child of the whole game. You know, and yet we don't get business from people all the time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're only gonna get a certain batting average, it's gonna work out the way it does.
But I think if you host a party and go, if you create the right packaging and then the right merchandising of that packaging, it's off to the races.
How did you recruit early on? Like, what was the technique to get those, like fill the funnel, get the staff?
I hired 50 kids who had no idea what the fuck they were doing.
Just from where?
You mean employees or?
Yeah, employees.
At the time I had a big enough Twitter. My brother brought like 6 of his friends from high school and college. I mean, it was a fucking I mean, we didn't have any agency people. So at the level you're at now, the content will recruit.
Yeah.
Run your
about.
podcast against employees of your competitors that you want to hire.
We need to do a lot more paid. Like
You have to do a lot more paid. When organic, this is for everybody, when organic went away from Facebook and everybody got their anger and like, fuck Facebook, I got pumped because people started like getting confused because paid was underpriced. And I was like, I'm unemotional. If I could, like, I get that this was free, but if this is still a good deal, then it's still a good deal. I don't care about yesterday. Back to that mentality. Like, yesterday doesn't matter. Facebook's free. You got all that organic traffic. You weren't paying Facebook for that organic traffic. It was a trade. They had a platform with a lot of attention. You produced content for it, and a trade. The organic goes down, you have to pay for it, you have to do a lot more paid. The reason you have to do a lot more paid, everybody, is you can target who you want to reach. When you know you're about to spend $150 against employees of your direct competitor from 8 towns over, you're already thinking differently in the video you're about to make. You might make a video of like how fun it is at your foosball table in your office. Because Rick at the other company's like, we don't have a foosball table.
Right.
Like, I don't, like,
No,
I only make content knowing who's gonna see it.
And the answer is do it, right? Like what? Like
People are like, you always go viral. I'm like, I made a video called You're 65 and Your Life's Not Over, and I ran ads against people who are 65. It's gonna do well. People underestimate how powerful it is.
Action's the key. Execute. Just do something.
But if you make the podcast, you'll crush, because now you're gonna have CEOs and CMFOs come in and be guests. That's gonna already be a slight biz dev opportunity, but you're also gonna be able to post-produce and run some of those funny quotes, funny moments. She's gonna be looking, you're gonna be thinking, oh, Jason and I are doing it right now. I'm like, what I'm telling you to do, I'm doing right now. Like, as I'm talking, I'm like looking at him like, did you see that? Was that smart? Should we cut that? Let's test that. Like, that's what you'll be doing in a year. And now all of a sudden, you answered a question where the CFO of the top 15 company like is really caught off guard, and she's like, that's smart. Now you're like, ooh, you know? Now you're running it against all CFOs. The machine.
So there's one question,
Yep.
follow up. So you always talk about the content and let the market decide.
Yes.
So, but for you, when you launched One Library, you said a year and nobody watched it.
Yes.
So, if we're producing content, personal brand and other things, you didn't let that swing you, but the market, eventually.
Because I have no expectations of the market for a long time.
But the wine versus the innovation and business mindset that seems to be driving differently. Do you think the wine content would do well right now if we relaunched it?
I think I'm a showman in hindsight, something I didn't know about myself at 34. I really didn't. Like, I got a D in speech. Like I didn't know that I had this shtick. I knew I was a good salesman on the floor at the liquor store. I knew that I was a good class clown where the teacher wasn't mad at me, so I knew I had a good tact. But none of this stuff even crossed my mind. So now, I think if I did anything tomorrow, it would work. Really. If I talked about something I knew. Like if I did a sports, I genuinely believe I'd be the #1 voice in sports today. If I decided tomorrow for the next 3 years to go all in, I think I'd be bigger than Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman and all these. I just do. Because I think I have a personality that clicks with people. That's just a trait. Some people don't. That's why I talk about writing and audio. You might not be great on video, but you might be a tremendous writer. Or you might just not be cracked out to be the personality. Then you lean into the logo or hire somebody. MetLife hired Snoopy,
Yeah.
you know? So that's
You
where
did a piece of content where you talked about how like you did this thing at Vayner where you like invested and then a year, like investment year, profit year, future.
oh, the stairs.
Yeah, just
you
talk
know,
about that.
I think I'm uncomfortable with not having some cash on hand for a rainy day. So I think I used to think a lot. Now I've molded a little bit from it, but I'm a very big fan of getting people to invest in their business instead of taking the money off the table. Sure. Like just everybody wants to build big businesses, but then what they're really doing is building lifestyle businesses for the things they want, which is also tough for me because if you want a car or like kudos, do your thing. But yeah, I aggressively in the first 5 years of Vayner and the first 5 years of Wine Library had a pretty hardcore system where like 1 year I would try to make no profit.
Invest it
all of it,
Zero
all of
at
it,
the end.
zero.
In the following year,
A little bit more.
which is like 5, like
For both, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
For both businesses, between 5 and 10%.
is that where you run it today? Is like keep running it the same way? You've changed that?
I keep running it because I'm just like, but again, I'm building it in perpetuity. You have to know what you're up to. Like again, if somebody here wants to flip their business, I'm like, and I'm sure everybody's big boy and big girl enough to know that. But yeah, I mean, like, look, it's your other family member, right? You got to feed it.
Right.
Got to take care of it. You know.
Cool.
If you want to build big,
Yeah, which is the goal.
well then you got to feed it. And then that's when you can hire and fire, like all that stuff, because you're not worried about the, people are like, well, Gary, it costs more to fire somebody. Well, I'm not as worried about the profit margin being insane. I'm trying to catch the growth.
I just wanted to ask, apart from paid advertising on Facebook and Instagram, what would be your 3 tips?
You know I'm
on
gonna fucking punch you in the
standing
face,
out
right?
From the noise? What would be your 3 tips on standing out from the noise?
Dude, I don't have any idea what's going through your fucking head that you just literally watched that presentation and decided that to be the question. You got your perspective. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy?
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. Put your hands together for Gary Vaynerchuk. My pleasure.
Thank you.
My honor.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up to him. What up?
Thank you. Sit. Sit, sit. Thank you. Sit. Let me talk. You've been waiting 2 fucking days for this, so fuck. Sorry about that. So, super excited to be here. Thank you so much. I've been really looking forward to this talk. So there's a couple different things I want to talk about, and then I'm super excited about the Q&A that we're going to have towards the end of this. I think the thing that most interests me is if you're at this conference right now, obviously in looking at this event from afar, how heavily it was promoted around me, and I think about why would you want to come, why, what value am I bringing, what are you trying to figure out? For me, you know, it's incredibly important when you give a speech that the speech is completely predicated on the value you can bring to the audience, not in what the audience can bring to you. And so for me, what's super important in this talk is, I think what's most remarkable, and if I could help it, what I would most want to get through to people that are here is, regardless of how big you think this opportunity is, and when I say this opportunity, look, this device Let me make it very clear because I don't think I've articulated it often. In 2007 or 6 or whenever the hell the iPhone came out, it was very basic. I saw that the iPhone came out and I made a singular bet, which was that this device was going to be the most important device in the world because over the last 10 years, from 96 to 2006 at that point, I, along with my dad, were able to build a very large business on the back of the internet itself. I watched a single store, liquor store in Springfield, New Jersey, able to reach national awareness at a very low cost on the back of something called the internet. How many people over 40 in this room? Raise hands. Don't be embarrassed, be louder about it. Over 40? Let's fucking go. We still have it. One more time, I wanna see how many hands of 40 and older. So for all the youngsters in this room, the hands that just went up, what the advantage they have in today's business world is we have context of what the world looked like pre-internet. We lived a full childhood pre-internet. We lived life without the internet. And what that did was allow me to context what was possible and how much it cost pre-internet versus what was possible and what it cost post-internet. What I was able to do to bring to my family business and the growth in revenue would have not been possible if we opened up a second store or third store with that same amount of money. In understanding that, it made me understand how powerful it was. In 2006, and again, this is just very important to lay this down as a framework for everybody here. In 2006, what I realized is, holy shit, the internet can be with you at all times. Now, this sounds outrageously basic, but it has only been about a decade that the internet has been at our fingertips regardless of where we are. At this point, everybody in this room, when their internet gets a little bit slower, freaks the fuck out. Like literally, I'm not in the US and my plan after a certain amount slows down my data in the market I'm in. Literally while I was waiting to get picked up from a car, about an hour ago was when I switched from my normal speed to this half speed that I'm on right now. Literally the last hour has been the worst fucking hour of my life. Like I just can't even open a tweet. Like I can't do anything. I'm crippled by something that is only new to me in the last 10 years. It is now my norm. You get really used to things really fast. On that bet that this was going to be the most important device, I've been able to achieve a next level of success predicated on a couple of things, but most of all, if you look back at my career, me investing in Tumblr and Facebook and Twitter was predicated on the fact that they were app companies on top of the phone. My friends, Facebook Inc., which includes WhatsApp and Instagram, is basically on its way to becoming a $1 trillion company on the fact that it's just an app company on your phone. Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp are apps on your phone. Apps. 3 apps on your phone worth $1 trillion. You have to understand how unbelievably important attention is. Attention is the only asset. The one thing that I know I can bring to this entire room is that regardless of what you're doing, you sell sneakers, you're a lawyer, you're in real estate, you're an investment banker, you're an actress, you're an actor, whatever you're trying to achieve, the only thing I could talk about besides us being humans that connects every one of us is that we are all striving for other people's attention to then be able to tell them what we want. Whether you want to raise money for a nonprofit, become the mayor of your town, or build $1 billion business selling sneakers, you need attention. The attention of our society lives on this device. The attention of our society lives on this device. Let me make you one promise in this room today. Unless you are producing content that is meaningful to an audience on this device across 7 or 8 platforms, podcast, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, unless you're producing content in written form, audio form, or video form across 7 to 10 apps on this device, unless you are relevant on those 10 apps, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, if you are not, you are fundamentally irrelevant in society. This is a very important thing to understand because I know there's people sitting here.
I love being
$11
irrelevant.
million business and are super happy and aren't even on social media. I get that, but what you're not factoring in is what happens next. To me, what's most important is not today. I stand up here and so unbelievably appreciative of that reception that I just got and knowing how many of you came here to hear me speak, but I promise you, as I breathe here right now, I recognize that literally everything I did an hour ago and back is irrelevant if I'm unable to execute going forward. Tomorrow, if I start making the wrong decisions and not executing, begins the vulnerability of unwinding everything I've done. And I think we all understand in society, we react much heavier to mistakes than we do to successes. The reason I'm pushing that you're irrelevant if you're not here is I don't think everybody here, including myself, has factored in how much more attention is going here. Let me promise you this. No matter what you think about technology, your kids on iPads all day, you always on the phone, nobody talking to each other, how you judge kids because they don't shake people in the hand and look in the eye, and all the other horseshit that demonizes technology, right this second, the way we interact with technology is the most basic you will ever see in your life. 10 years from now, every one of these phones, every one of these video game platforms, every one of these websites are gonna seem like a fucking beeper and MySpace. You have to understand this. Here's why. There is nobody here pot committed enough to this, including myself. There is nobody in this theater right now pot committed to this enough, including myself. When I say pot committed to this, what do I mean? I mean, every person in this room needs to take a substantial step back and understand, am I producing enough pictures, videos, written words in these platforms to achieve what I want? And the answer, and I'll save you time, is no for everybody. And for somebody who's putting out 85 pieces of content a day, across audio, video, and written word a day, my answer is staggeringly no. Meanwhile, there are people here who take 4.5 hours to figure out a perfect Instagram post because they want it to look good when somebody lands on their fucking profile. It's true. The quickest gateway, the quickest execution for everybody here to get whatever the hell they're trying to get out of here today is to produce content on 10 websites. The quickest way for you to get what you want in your life is to produce videos, pictures, and written words across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, podcast, your website, email, text messaging platform, period. You know what's crazy? I literally want to say right now, thank you, London, I'm out. It is like, I'm thrilled to go into the mindset. I'm thrilled to tell you, and if you follow me on Instagram, this is where I've taken most of my content. I'm thrilled to tell you that the reason you're not producing enough content is unfortunately you value other people's opinions more than your own ambition and happiness. That literally Pants 47 can leave a content that you're ugly and it makes you stop posting. I can go into that. I can go into a million other things, but I make this very clear and obvious. The reason I am just beginning to succeed in my ambitions is because today is the least amount of content that I will produce, because I will produce more tomorrow and more the next day. You have to understand, media dictates everything, right? There's a specific reason that when there is a coup in a country, that the army goes and takes over the TV network and the newspaper. Communication is the game. Maybe because of being born in the Soviet Union and raised in the US, I had this paradox of being fascinated by a closed and open system of communication. Maybe because I'm an extrovert and I talk a lot. I don't know why, but something came natural to me my whole life, which is communication. What are the things that make people do things, right? What I'm fascinated by is the democratization of media. What I'm fascinated by is that everybody here, how many people here have been following me for more than 1 year? Raise your hand. The fact that 90% of this audience knows that all I want you to do is run Facebook and Instagram ads and you still aren't, makes me want to punch all of you in your fucking face.
Hey man, I'm still new, I don't know how.
I mean, literally all I've been asking you to do for the last 2 years is run Facebook and Instagram ads, and you fuck faces still aren't.
Well, I'll do this week.
And I say this because I put it on film, because I'm gonna run this exact video against you in 5 years on some platform telling you that you missed the golden era of Facebook and Instagram because now it's appropriately priced. And you guys have heard me, if you follow me, say this. I regret that I wasn't able to build my dad's business bigger because I didn't spend enough on Google. I didn't spend enough. I had it figured out. It was called Google AdWords. It was working, yet I still was doing newspapers and direct mail and radio and television because I didn't understand the context of the moment that I was living in. I didn't have enough experience to know that I bought something so good, so underpriced, so scalable, that I didn't squeeze the fuck out of it enough when Google AdWords was the best. If you follow me, you've heard me say that Amazon was the #1 spender on Google AdWords in those early days and literally used that underpriced attention to be what they are today. I want you to spend on Facebook and Instagram because there's a possibility that never in our lives again will you be able to get in front of people at that cost. Let me just say it one more time because I really need you to understand it. This, right now, and this is why I yell at myself, for the $50 or $80 or $100,000 of my own money that I spend on ads on these platforms to continue to build brand, the truth is, I should spend more. And this is not a joke. If I didn't have such a high expense to run my lifestyle because I have a family that's fancy now, let me make it more basic. If I was single right now, I would literally go move in back with my parents just so I had more money to run on Facebook and Instagram ads. I'm gonna say it one more time. We have never lived in a time where brand was this underpriced. Let me explain. What is the biggest difference between me and a lot of people that look like me, or me and the companies that I work with and I get them there? It is the fact that I do branding, not sales. Branding is different than sales. I love when people come up to me like, Gary, I'm a marketer. I'm like, cool, what do you do? Well, I am affiliate marketer and it's, conversion-based I'm like, you're a salesman, bro. You're not building a brand. You have 747 URLs that you do landing page optimization against and you convert, and that's amazing. Being an affiliate marketer is amazing, other than the fact that it should be called an affiliate salesman. Brand is why you buy Nike. Brand is why everybody who's wearing jewelry and watches right now are wearing what they're wearing because they bought on brand, not somebody cookied them on Instagram and remarketed to them and then they bought that watch, for the most part. And so I brand, and why I love brand is because it's in perpetuity. When you build a brand, you can play on that brand for a very, very, very long time. Why Facebook and Instagram are special, and more special than Google is in Google's heyday, it was not that I was building brand for Wine Library, I was building sales, because when you go on Google, all of our businesses are the same because they're blue letters on a landing page that you click. Brand is when your pictures and videos look different in a feed. Look, I think I'm coming out of the gate in this talk, and I'm gonna macro it up in a minute, but I'm coming out the gate in this talk very tactical about the details. In all my rah-rah and fuck what people say, and self-esteem, and all the mental shit that I believe in tremendously, because that's what gives you the engine. You're not gonna execute shit if you're depressed or insecure. So I believe in it, but I'm putting it on a shelf, UK. I'm putting it on a shelf with you right now because an event that is so heavily marketed against me, knowing that you've heard a lot of this, I need one thing. I need 2 people to leave here who've been hearing me pound them in the fucking face about running ads on these 2 platforms to finally say, fuck, it's enough, I'm gonna do it. And watch this is very, very important. And please don't bullshit, raise your hands. How many people here have run Facebook and Instagram ads and it has not worked for their business? Raise your hands. Raise it high. Me too, because not every execution works. Not every execution works. It doesn't mean it's not ROI positive. The ROI of a basketball for me is $0. It's $1 billion for LeBron. Just because you didn't execute Facebook or Instagram properly doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means you suck. this is going to be the era of regret, and I promise you that. This is going to be the era of regret. The prices of Facebook, and how many people here have been marketing successfully on Instagram and Facebook for the last 3 years? Raise your hands. 3. I need 3 years and I need your hands. If it's less, don't raise it. I just need people banging on it successfully for 3 years. Raise it high, I just want to get a sense. Keep it up for a second. I love some of the gangsters in here, they're like this, because they don't want people to fucking know. I like it. What all of you know, that I know, thank you, what the 20 to 50 of you know is it's not as good of a deal today as it was a year ago. Right? Just look around at all the heads that are shaking. It is not as good of a deal today as it was yesterday. Here's where it gets scary, and I'm getting goosebumps. I know there's a bunch of fucking cameras, so maybe you'll zoom in before it goes away. The reason I'm getting goosebumps is you can't imagine the weird life that I live, and let me break it down for you as I've never articulated it before. I live a life today where I spend 3 hours with 3 different clients, spending all my time trying to convince them to move their money from television and billboards and dressing up double-decker fucking buses in London and take that money and spend it on Facebook and Instagram. I then get in a car and come into a room of entrepreneurs and SMBs and tell them to spend money on Instagram and Facebook. What's really crazy about this is the following. Them, corporate, I understand why they're not doing it. Because they are stuck, right? The way they score their marketing doesn't show that it works. Because they score their marketing not in real life. They score it based on awards and reports and stuff that isn't the actual sense of actually selling stuff. We do. The reason the prices have gone up is because other entrepreneurs and small businesses, and mainly Silicon Valley startups, are pouring enough money in to what is a very simple supply and demand platform, and they've raised the price because there's only one feed, and if I want to get in front of my homie here, before, if 27 other startups didn't want to get in there, the cost of getting into his stream was less. Now that there's 28 of us, it's more. That's how Facebook makes money. That's how Google makes money. Supply and demand platforms, basic as fuck. Do you understand? Here's the problem for everybody in this room. The second the domino falls, and the biggest thing that you should be thankful for if you're a Facebook entrepreneur making money on Facebook and Instagram is that the Russians hacked the American election. Because all that propaganda made a lot of big companies pause and be mad at Facebook and not pour the appropriate money in, which bought us executing entrepreneurs another year of taking advantage of underpriced attention. But don't clap, even though that dude woohooed. Because what's about to happen next is gonna make all of you regret to not listening to me for the last 3 years. What is going to happen in the next 10, 12, 24 months is that Evian and Coca-Cola and BMW and Rolex and Puma and Nike and GE and everybody else is gonna wake the fuck up because they're gonna have no choice, and they're gonna take their $200 and $100 and $400 and $800 and $900 million budgets and put it into the system. And for all of us that it's working for, because it works at $8 a CPM, $8 to get in front of 1,000 people, 42 of which act, 17 which have convert, that $8 is gonna become $28, where our models break. Attention is like real estate. Attention is like real estate. When Malibu beachfront property or property and buildings in shortage 20 years ago go up for the market and you buy it at the right price and then the market changes, you win. The attention on this device and the platforms is going to change very soon. You are a very unique group of people that feel that the Pied Piper of this opportunity is worth spending an afternoon with, or 2 days, or an hour, what have you. It devastates me that you even pay attention to me at all and don't execute on the biggest gift that I'm trying to give you. It devastates me that you pay. I don't want your likes. I don't want your following. I definitely don't want to sell you some bullshit in the back of the room. I've already made more money than I need to in my entire life, and I did it long before you even knew who Gary Vee was, because I just don't need a lot of money. I need admiration. You know how I get admiration? That you listen to me, execute, your life's a hell of a lot better, and you email me in 3.5 years and say, thank you so much coming to the UK. Then it finally hit me. At the time, had been following you for 2.5 years, but something about the way you spoke that day and being in the room finally made me say, fuck it. It took me 3 months and a couple $1,000s, but then I figured it out, and over the last 6 months, guys, if you noticed, I started getting back into sports cards. People are selling me like Michael Jordan rookie cards for like 100% less than market because the email's coming. Literally a baseball card dealer emailed me and said, I was $280,000 in debt 19 months ago, and now I have millions of dollars just by actually finally listening to you. Guys, one more time, people winning on Facebook and Instagram, raise your hands. The people that have their hands up, by show of hand or wave your arm or whatever the fuck we're gonna do, admit to yourself, then me, then them, that when you first started doing it, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, but it's so easy and so underpriced that anything we did worked, correct? Underpriced attention. It works every time. It's about to go away, and let me be very clear, for all the nice little things I said about everything over the last 8 minutes, this talk for the last 10 minutes is selfish. I cannot wait, and I mean wait, to run this video to the world when this goes away and everyone's crying and all you fuckers are gonna email me and say, Gary, you have to help me. What's next? And I'm gonna say, Sally, nothing, dick, you fucked up. 2004 to 2014 was a long decade before something came along that even remotely looked like Google AdWords early for me. And there is no guarantee in augmented reality or voice or any other technology, AI, that's coming that we will have this opportunity to communicate to people about what we want to at such a price that even if you're average, you will get business results. My friends, you should leave this keynote right now, get in the fucking tube, go home, and fucking figure out how to start running ads. And I don't mean go home and hire some 26-year-old to run ads for you. I mean you have to go home and spend 10 hours reading and watching videos of how to actually run a Facebook ad, how to actually make a picture and video for it, and watch the results so you taste it. You have to taste it. You have to be a practitioner of it because it is the lotto ticket of the moment, and everybody is just letting it slide by. And I'll be honest with you, I'm thrilled. To be frank, it's better for me if you don't do it, because it makes it cheaper for me to do it. But in my complete obsession with being historically correct and admired, I'm giving it to you. What's fascinating is a long time ago, I figured out why I don't sell my best advice, why I give it away for free. Why? Because 99% of you aren't gonna do anything about it.
That's so funny.
It's the biggest brain fuck ever. I mean,
That's
I would
so
argue
funny.
that was a pretty compelling 15-minute rant to get you to run a fucking Instagram ad. And 99% of you are still not going to. Brother, I don't give a fuck. Just do it. Don't tell me. Just do it. This is so ridiculous. Let me bounce around a couple other things. Let's talk about content, because I just talked about distribution. The other thing is you gotta fill the ads. The reason I film myself fully, besides being a narcissist, is by filming myself, I've been able to create a system that allows me to produce more content than anybody. What I find fascinating about Gary Vee, my persona, me, it's actually me, but what I find fascinating about it is I spend 18 hours a day running a company. I am not an influencer. I am not a personal brand. I am an operator, a business operator, not only running Vayner, but all the other things at VaynerX, whether it's Pure Wow or 1:37 p.m. or something else we're about to announce. Not 15 minutes ago speaking to AJ about Vayner Sports and what we're gonna do there. He runs it, I obviously do my thing. On the phone with my dad and Brandon last night about a thing. I'm in it. I'm fucking working every fucking minute, every second, all the time, always, and I'm putting out more content than people that are a personal brand for a living. Why? not because I'm out hustling them, because I outsmarted them. It's based on understanding what I'm actually doing and what I hope a lot more of you do. The reason I film myself is the following. By filming myself, it gives me unlimited opportunity to not only create video, but to create audio and written word. And one of the biggest things I believe in the world is you do not create friction for the end customer. If you want to consume me in Instagram, I'm going to give it to you. If you want to listen to me on podcast form while you're running, I'm going to give it to you. If you want to consume a 1-hour keynote and watch it on Roku, I'm going to fucking give it to you. I create no friction for any of you to consume me. So many of you are producing content and you create friction because you only fuck with Instagram or YouTube, but you leave everything else out. So you narrow your upside because you're doing what you want to do, not what they want. Literally every single maneuver I make in business is 100% predicated on the audience. 100%.
Yeah.
So people always love to razz me like,
And I've never done that.
guy, why do you write books?
But that's there to change.
Asshole. I don't read them, but people read them. And so I am unbelievably imploring you to understand a couple things. I have a top 100 global podcast, yet I never sit down and do a podcast. Why? Because I'm able to extract the audio. This talk right now is an episode of one of my podcasts in 7 weeks. You know it. This is how it is. It's also going to be an article in LinkedIn called Last Stance for Instagram Ads, you dick faces, It's also going to be 3 little clips on Instagram of especially Q&A where I'm able to talk about new things instead of the pillars that I believe in, and on and on and on. I can't implore you guys more to get home and get serious about content creation. If you are fortunate enough to be extroverted or lack insecurity in front of a camera, you should be filming yesterday. But I also have empathy that it's not for everybody. And if it's not, and you love writing, I am thrilled that you'll be writing. And let me tell you something about writing. One of the things that I see so many of you, and I've been watching people mention this and looking at their Twitters and looking at their Instagrams and DMing some of you, so many of you are relying too heavily on just the pictures on Instagram and not adding context and copy. I believe copy, the written word, is the great underdog right now in content creation. We've become so visual with pictures and video, we've punted written word. I can't write for shit and I'm doing it. I really implore most of you to do the following. Take a step back and figure out how you communicate to the world. How do you communicate to the world? Are you best at audio? Are you good at video? Do you write? If you're lucky enough that you can do video, that is where you go, because what video does is allows you to then edit it underneath it into audio and written word. If you don't, that's fine too. Forcing it will never work. We've seen a lot of people try to do video online, and it's been scary and ugly and a train wreck. It's just not for them, and that's fine. So what I'm thinking a lot about is how to put you in a position to succeed in content creation, and then figure out how to be great at distributing it. When you get to the distributing part, my friends, you have to respect the context of the platform. I'm watching so many people that are in B2B try to win on Instagram, but they're acting like Instagram's LinkedIn. Doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or a financial advisor or you sell concrete. If you treat Instagram like LinkedIn, even though your business is more LinkedIn, you will lose. If you do not respect the context of the room, you will lose. These platforms are rooms. They are rooms. Fuck. It's just so intense. The reason I just went there, I'm just thinking, how the hell do I get them to understand? How do I get people to understand how big of a deal this is? Nothing is more valuable than attention. I literally value attention equal to oxygen. I couldn't get you to understand it more if you got inside my head. And I can't figure out how to break people through, which is how, ironically, I think you'll find this interesting. I think the reason that I was willing to go back to mindset and motivation over the last year and a half, where after 4 years I was basically quiet about that because I didn't want to be a motivational speaker, was because I'm so desperate for you to communicate more to the world. As I met more and more people, I was like, oh fuck, they're not doing it because they don't know how to make a picture or video written. It's because this is broken. They're insecure here. That's why they're not making, and that's the problem. I mean, there are people here that literally post on Instagram, and if they don't get enough likes, they delete it. They delete it because they think it's a scarlet letter that shows their audience doesn't give a fuck. They're playing the wrong game. It's short. Like, do you know how many people email me every day saying, Gary, how do I get to 10,000 followers? I'm at 4,000. Like, that means something. We just have to change the paradigm of this conversation. We have to. Let me talk about a couple other things. How many people here in B2B, how many people here are entrepreneurs? Raise your hands, just for a sense. How many people here are employees at a company? Raise your hands. So for many of the entrepreneurs here, another thing that I would highly recommend is looking very deeply at influencer marketing. I can't get over the fact of how underpriced influencer marketing is, how much it converts, and how wild, wild west it is. Here's what I mean. Just because somebody has 800,000 followers on Instagram and you pay them $1,000 and somebody else has 40,000 and they want $1,000, I'm surprised how basic people are and they think the 800,000 is the better deal. I understand, it makes sense, the math is pretty clear, but a good affiliate marketer can tell you the conversion's gonna really matter. If you're trying to sell something, whether it's a service or a product, I couldn't push you harder to get into the culture of DMing influencers that you think may represent your brand properly or just have big audiences, and start asking them what they would want for them to post about your B2B SaaS product, or your new app, or your hula hoop, or your fucking cool t-shirt, or whatever it may be. All I ever think about, I'm very basic. I keep shit super simple on supply and demand. I overlay attention and then culture, what's happening in it, and that becomes me, and I will always do that. No question, the other territory that I'm completely blown away by is influencers. Super underpriced, potentially super overpriced, but not allocating a couple $100, a couple $1,000, tens of thousands of bucks, depending on the size of your business, and putting it into that tunnel and that funnel and tasting it for yourself is a huge missed opportunity. Huge. Let me talk about another execution. I'm really excited about how tactical I'm getting today. Pre-roll YouTube. How many people here consume videos on YouTube? Raise your hands. Cool. Pre-roll YouTube. There's a way for you to segment and target people based on what they searched on Google, and then pre-roll them based on what they're doing on YouTube. Meaning, there's a segmentation that allows you to target every single person that searched open houses in downtown London. If you're a real estate agent selling in downtown London, and he's searching open houses in downtown London, but then 4 hours later, he goes to watch Arsenal videos on YouTube, your pre-roll can show up first based on the context and data that that person created in YouTube search. It is one of the unbelievably strong brand and sales executions in the game, and you should literally go home and Google, because I don't know what Google's proper terminology is of this segmentation. How do I segment based on Google search as a pre-roll YouTube ad? Verbatim that. How do I search pre-roll YouTube ads based on Google search queries? Thanks, Dad. Next. This is the next version of this. This is the next. We just talked about being a great advertiser. Let me tell you about the ultimate in being an advertiser. To become a media company. The number one piece of advice I would have for this room, besides perfectly executing on Facebook, Google, and Instagram in 2018, is to start thinking of themselves as a media publisher, comma, whatever you do for a living. When you start thinking of yourself, as I do, as a publisher, as a media entity, I think of myself not as a Tim Ferriss or a Tony Robbins or a shark on Shark Tank. I think of myself as Wall Street Journal and Business Insider and Fast Company. I think about the world as a publisher, not as a human. Why this is important is for all the same reasons I said about advertising. If you are capable of putting out content as a media company, which means you're trying to bring value to the audience in entertainment or utility, not selling them something, when you switch from being a commercial on TV to being a TV show, you start selling a lot more. When you switch your mind from being an ad in the Wall Street Journal to being the Wall Street Journal in the videos, podcasts, emails, and LinkedIn posts that you put out to the world, everything changes. My friends, this is undeniably the biggest shift of attention that the human being has had. This internet thing, it's big. And it's just starting. My great concern, how many people here are retiring in the next 10 years? And I don't mean you're gonna fucking kill it and go fucking buy an island. I mean, you're fucking old and you're finished. Raise your hands. That old dude, 2, 3. No way, you're way too young. Cool. So for 6 people in here, I have a little more empathy. But for the rest of you, if you do not start becoming perfect at Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, podcasts, you're in deep shit. Because what's coming behind this is like a marathon versus the treadmill that I'm trying to get you on. And what will happen is, and this is why, actually, another show of hands real quick. How many people here are having their best business year ever? Raise your hand. First of all, let's clap it up for everybody. That's awesome. One more time, hi. You'll find this interesting. So that's fucking awesome and that makes me super happy. It also makes me worried. The people that I am most worried about in this room are the ones that are having a great year. Because if they're not doing what I'm talking about and they're having a great year, they can only take it with a grain of salt. That becomes their vulnerability. There are so many people that make ridiculous statements in their own head, like Gary's awesome and super motivational, but this shit doesn't work in my industry. You're a fucking idiot. Communication works in every industry. Customers' attention works in every industry. And the reason humongous companies go out of business all the time in the world is they become audacious that the new technologies don't affect their business. There is nobody in here that is big as the billion-dollar companies that are going out of business every fucking year because of the technology shift. So please, on your 20% growth this year, or on your cute double-digit massive explosion, please do not become audacious and think that everything that's being talked about here doesn't count for the real estate industry in the west side of blah, blah, blah. The level of disruption that is coming is substantial. The opportunity right now is substantial. And I highly and desperately, desperately am passionate about this audience who decided to allocate me with the thing that I value the most, attention, goes and takes theirs. Every single time I do this, a month or 2 later, I get 1 or 2 of people that do. It is fundamentally foolproof if you're willing to make 100% of an effort. And when I say foolproof, nothing is foolproof. If you're willing to unbelievably work and understand how the ads work, and unbelievably work and understand how the pictures, videos, and written words work, you will hit pay dirt, mainly on the back of what I did earlier when said, hey, for everybody that's got it, wasn't it so weirdly easy? The answer is yes. The attention is just so grossly underpriced, and it won't be. And so I'm passionate, as you can tell, and I'll tell you something. How many people here actually have been, 2014, how many people here have been following me for more than 7 years? It shouldn't be a lot, but I want to see it. Raise your hands. So for the 20 or 30 of you, you know, I got quiet in 12, 13, 14, 15. Like I was quiet, there wasn't content. Wine was done, I wasn't making business videos. Like once or twice a year, a keynote from a talk, because I was doing a little talking. I got quiet, because there was nothing to yell about. Facebook and Twitter were organic. the ads weren't working this way. People were spending time still on television and TV and print and other things and other websites. Remember other websites? Remember other websites? Remember we used to go to other websites? Like, look what Instagram has done. Like, it's sucked everybody in there. You don't go to sports site, you don't go to ESPN.com as much, you just get the highlight from 433. They've sucked us in. It's there for the taking. As much as I'm pumped that you wake up and you see a quote of mine on Instagram and you get fired up and you're ready for the day for 3 hours, but then some bullshit happens and you're depressed again. As much as that's fun for me, what's way fucking more fun is if you go put in fucking work for 20 to 50 hours, actually figure out what the fuck I'm talking about, watch what I'm doing, not what I'm saying, and you get the benefits of what's going on, not just me. London, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. To be frank, and I want to make sure the team's ready, I cut it 5 minutes short because I know we're about to do Q&A, and very honestly, I think I've made my point. You know, I'd like to go into details, and by the way, I know a lot of you have context. You can go in, you can ask me a wine question, a Jets question, I don't care, but I'd love to get into Q&A. I'm trying to get a sense. Do you guys have the mics? You guys feeling good? Oh, the final thoughts from everybody? And then the Q&A? Cool. We're gonna get final thoughts from everybody, and then we're gonna go into Q&A. Thank you so, so much for listening to that, and please, for the love of God, go execute on it. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi Gary, I traveled 10,000 miles from Pakistan to make sure I attend this
Thank you so much.
Two main questions. Fear of failure and shame are like taboos in our society. Pakistan, India,
Huge.
Bangladesh. What other people would think. And it's something that you really press on. Could you please share once again some wisdom on how can people grow out of this, that what would other people think? And before I go, one last thing, brother. Can I come and hug you? You are a true inspiration, please.
Yes, you can, come on.
You are a true inspiration.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much. Look, I think, it's really interesting. I was so outrageously fortunate that I was parented in a way that it wasn't about what my mom wanted, it's what I wanted for myself, and she created a framework for me to be able to live within that. Unfortunately, I genuinely believe that 98% of parents want and view their kids as a product, and that their success is an indication on them. It becomes more extreme in the Middle East, in Asia, and Southeast Asia, where it goes so batshit crazy that it's like I'm planning a pretty substantial trip to India and the Middle East next year, and I can't wait because literally the only reason I'm going is to punch every parent in the fucking mouth. The way to break away from fear of failure is to stop valuing the person that judges you that you failed. Guys, I mean, it's very cliche, but it's very true. Life is fucking remarkable when you don't give a fuck about anybody's opinion. You have to break away from that facade. And you know what's really sad? Parents that were forced by their parents to be engineers and doctors and hated it are forcing their kids to be engineers and doctors. It's a vicious cycle. The only way to break it is to actually understand that the best thing you can do to love your parents is to make yourself happy so that you don't resent your parents for the rest of your life.
Hi Gary V.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? I just wanted to ask, apart from paid advertising on Facebook and Instagram, what would be your 3 tips?
You know I'm gonna fucking punch you in the face, right?
From the noise. What would be your 3 tips on standing out from the noise?
Dude, I don't have any idea what's going through your fucking head that you just literally watched that presentation and decided that to be the question. and I'm not trying to razz, I know everybody's like, I'm listening to you, everyone's really uncomfortable right now. I'm not trying to razz you. Listen to me, brother. Have you ever played poker?
No.
Me neither, but here's the good news. In poker, I know enough about this. Sometimes you get the nuts, you get the best hand. I'm telling you what the best hand is, and you're asking me which cards to throw back into the pot. I'm not gonna answer your question because I don't know, because I can't spend any time looking at anything else than how to maximize Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and influencers right now.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Gary.
How are you? Get closer to the mic, brother.
Sure. Super duper nervous, so forgive me if I stutter or anything else like that, right? So basically, I'm about to embark on a project. I've got this
Can you get
domain.
closer to the mic, brother? I'm struggling to hear you.
Is
Go
it much
ahead.
better?
Yeah, better.
I'm about to embark on a project which is going to make me kind of go head to head with some giants in a particular industry I'm in mainly
Okay.
real estate. And I'm kind of daunted by the prospect of going up against some of these giants, if I'm honest with you.
And where is the giant located?
So, I mean, basically, I try to cut a long story short. I have this domain. It's called roomlet.com. Shameless plug, forgive me. Now, I know it's really important because I've been receiving phone calls for like 50K to take my domain from me. So I've kind of like looked into the spare room market. I mean, I've got a real estate background anyway. So, sorry, forgive me. Basically, there's a company right now, and they have like 67% market share of this particular industry. It's like spare rooms and
That's good.
and things like that. But
That-
if I launch, I'm going up against the big dogs, big time, and I'm not. I'm a small guy and a big.
But what's your alternative?
Well, I can keep doing my real estate business and keep working that out, but this is an opportunity for me to do something big, but there is this prospect of going up against big money and big companies. And
Brother, there's the prospect that you don't do it, and because you didn't do it, you went on a flight tomorrow to a different place, and the plane crashes and you die.
oh, okay.
No, I know it's an extreme example. Like, everyone always worries about the prospect of losing without realizing there's a million things. Like, life is such a matrix. Like, sure, there's that prospect. Tomorrow, that big company may have a huge scandal, and the entire C-suite is blown out, and they have to recalibrate for 2 years, which was the reason you were able to go on the offense and scoop up. Business and life is pretty basic. You're either on the offense or you're on the defense, right? My biggest thing looking at you is you're so young. Like, even if you lose, you have plenty time to rebuild again. I'm a giant that owns 60 to 70% of a marketplace is normally the most vulnerable thing a small entrepreneur can go up against. That's why they fucking wrote David versus Goliath. Like, that is the opportunity. I would hate if there was 8 people in the middle, 13% each, then I'd be like, I love when there's somebody that's 70% of the market. That means they're sleeping and underestimating.
Now, can I get?
How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Close to the mic.
Okay.
What's your
So I was
what's your
just
name?
wondering.
What's your
Sorry?
name?
It's Roy.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too. So I was wondering actually because my thoughts are so fucking scattered all the time, and I am doing e-commerce. I'm doing application right now and a software as well, and I'm just so scattered with my time, and I just don't know like what to focus on. As I said, everyone in this fucking room has time on their side. Like right now we have like 1 more years before these big companies catch on to Facebook and pour more money back into that, as you said. Like I know that, but like what should I do? I mean, I'm doing all the ads and it's working out for me fine, but I feel like, should I move just into one thing and pour like all my money back into it?
Well, what are you trying to accomplish?
I mean, like I'm trying to hustle as hard as I can currently with my...
Yeah, but to do what? Are you trying to maximize money? Are you trying to have fun?
No, I'm trying to maximize money. Like all my money that I have right now...
Then if you're trying to maximize money, you pour it into the thing that's bringing you the most return.
Okay.
Like I do 87 things, all of which are complete waste of time, including like, I don't know if you guys are following, I go garage sailing on Saturday to make like $8 on flipping fucking stuffed animals.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Because it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So like you have to know what you're trying to accomplish. The reason it's fun to be an entrepreneur and do 8 things is it's fun. But if you're trying to maximize money and you figured out Facebook to some degree, well then you put it down the funnel that's maximizing the money.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely stick to that. Do you mind if I take a picture with you?
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hiya, I'm Palmer. So good they named me twice. Oh, good, I get to hold the mic for a while. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Palmer. So good they named me twice. I am 50, doing it for the women. Finally getting there. I love your post the other day about getting out there and doing it. Every day, people say to me, I'm resilient, and that's because it's authentic, because it's my struggles I've had.
Yes.
I would like you to share with us one experience that you're happy to share that has made you the most resilient person that we all love and admire, because that's what gets you again and again being consistent.
You know, it's interesting you asked that, and obviously not in these formats, but a lot of times when I'm being interviewed for a profile, a lot of people go there, and it's really tough. I think authenticity really plays, and I think the thing that has really worked for me is being authentic. It's a really tough question for me because I'm so ridiculously fortunate. You know, I was unfortunate in the fact that I basically lost 3 grandparents before I got to know them, right? I've been fortunate in the fact that like the only thing that feels like something that I would want to be resilient to, because I have a very interesting framework. Basically, all I care about is the health and well-being of 11 people. So like the fact that the closest people to me in my life have not died or been terminally ill, everything else feels so secondary. I don't think about when the kids in Dover made me drink pee out of a Pepsi can as an issue. I don't think about having, like my whole life, my school told me I was a loser. Like adversity for me was always in play. Like I was small, so I wasn't an over athlete. I got bad grades. Like pretty much, you know, like outside, everything inside my house was perfect and everything outside was adversity, but nothing extreme. I've never dealt with, you know, being sexually harassed or having a tragic accident, all the things that I look in society and I have so much empathy for as such a tragic event. At the same token, people shit on me every day because they're like, your dad gave you $3 million, we shouldn't listen to you, without realizing my dad didn't give me anything, and I spent my entire 20s and mid-30s building a business that I own 0% of, and basically, I started VaynerMedia out of somebody else's conference room because I had no money. I was 34 years old. Like when I tell all of you to be patient, how many people under 30? Had no fucking money. Everybody fucking wants to be a baller at 26 on Instagram and fucking be on jets. Had no money. I played patient. So it's really interesting. When you ask the question, the answer is nothing and everything. Yeah. I learned how to lose from the beginning. I was an immigrant. We came from very humble beginnings. We walked to Kmart. I've always learned I was losing from the get. Teachers said I would never be anything, but I didn't hear them, because I had such great infrastructure at home telling me I was the best. And then I found my thing, and then I was patient. You know, everyone says I'm so lucky. I gave up all my high school years, all my college years. I had no fun. There's no memories. There was fucking work. I put in the work. The answer is the adversity has been in my system from the get, and the biggest reason I worry about modern day parenting is everybody here with kids is trying to eliminate adversity from their kids, which basically turns them into zoo animals, which is why they don't know how to deal with negativity when they go into the real world. So the answer to your question is my entire fucking life, I was told by the establishment that I sucked, which is why I played outside of the establishment, which is why I'm fucking killing the establishment. I guess that's the thing. I get it. I was about to say no just to make it weird.
I'm a very passionate woman.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Can you take a photo, my dear friend? Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks so
You're
much
welcome.
for arranging.
My guy.
Hey Gary, love you, man.
I love you back.
I want to say that, you know, you've inspired me in many ways because I can relate to you on different levels. I work 7 days a week in my dad's restaurant, and still I've branded myself since 2014 in the crypto space. I'm known online as the Cryptovator because I motivate people. And I believe that, you know, what you said about Instagram and Facebook, the next challenge is basically people branding themselves with crypto.
I understand.
And I think blockchain is the future. I think not many people understand this. 99% of the population of the world. But the other thing is like when the governments tag everybody and we all kind of are controlled, and we want to brand ourselves with crypto and this education. The thing is, what I'm facing right now is a lot of people that are my followers, they're ex-marketers or they want to get into the crypto space, and the last year they did, and they're kind of going back to selling water because the crypto has gone down. But it's very difficult for me to position myself as an influencer and get people out that mindset of making quick money to thinking long term. Now, what would your advice be? Because I have a cryptocurrency course, I'm trying to brand myself. Am I doing the wrong thing?
My advice is what I did, which is all that crypto is another land grab for people that are looking for a quick buck versus people that are in it for the long term. When social media came out in 2006 and 7 and 8, and I was one of the voices, a lot of voices in that space were doing real estate 5 minutes earlier and are now doing crypto. And like, so I think the biggest mistake that I heard from you is I'm struggling to establish myself as an influencer. When one tries to establish themselves as an influencer, it often is the quickest way for them not to be an influencer. I think what you need to do is put out content and be historically correct. You need to bring value. I mean, I think the biggest problem with blockchain and crypto is that people don't know how to look at history. Blockchain is an unbelievable technology. I couldn't agree with you more that personal brands and reputation is going to get tokenized. I couldn't agree with you more. But the problem is that 99% of the current cryptocurrencies are going to go to zero.
I agree.
The same way that all the 99% of the browsers and 99% of the search engines and 99% of the social networks went to zero. The problem is we're now living in a world where crypto is popular and happening with social media as a foundation. So what you have is a lot of people trying to build personal brands. They're hyperbolizing, making ridiculous claims. The amount of poor kids that maximized their credit cards and bought Bitcoin at 15,000 that are now underwater is extreme. It's never talked about. I personally have 100 emails of it, and I'm not even talking about the space that often, so imagine what's really going out there. My answer to you is very simple. And this is my answer to everybody, which is why it's long-winded. If you want to be an authority or an establishment in your craft or your passion, none of it is short-term. You don't get to be the expert overnight. The amount of people that are fucking full of straight shit, like my favorite person ever is the 19-year-old life coach. You're fucking 19. And you're a life coach. You know, I think you need to be patient. You know, it's early, and I think what you need to do is put out quality information and let the chips fall. If I ever wanted to be the social media guru, it would have never happened. I wanted to be an operator of a business who talked about social media from his perspective, and I ended up being disproportionately historically correct, which gave me the leverage. I think that's what you need to do.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Gary. I came from Ireland to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Very excited to see you speak. I have a question about publishing. Can you hear me? I've just written a book.
You created a book?
I created a book.
Are you self-publishing?
That's what my question is. So based on what you were just talking about, I mean, I like the idea of being entrepreneurial and not needing to go to a publisher.
Can I give you the answer? Because I've lived it so hard. There's a very simple decision you have to make about the book. If you try to sell it to a publisher and get it published, you get the brand equity of getting published by a publisher.
Yes.
But understand this about book publishers. All they do is kill trees. They will do nothing. There's not a publisher in the world that will sell one book for you. They don't exist. So the only reason to go with a publisher and share economics and give them 50 to 80 cents on a dollar is because you want to walk around and say that Simon & Schuster bought your book, and that's not a bad idea.
No.
Maybe that's something you've always dreamed of. It's also good for your brand.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend now that self-publishing, because of Amazon and other things, is on not spammy like it was 20 years ago, is on a good plane, that as long as you go in eyes wide open to your deal with your publisher, knowing that they're not going to sell a single book,
yeah,
then I would say you can make a decision based on you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. You're
And the
actually
other
in
thing-
it.
I'm sorry?
You feature in my book.
Thank you. That will probably sell you more books than your fucking publisher. The other thing to keep in mind, if you have a compelling enough pitch as a first-time author that they give you a big advance, it is sometimes good to get a bankroll, some dollars in, that could be greater than the way your book actually sells. Most people get overpaid for their advance and never make back the advance. The reason I became a big writer was my book was making money for the publisher, which created my demand, which leveled up my price.
And how would I go about getting an endorsement from Gary Vee?
So here's the biggest reason I don't endorse books. If you look, the only endorsements I've ever given in books is about the person writing it because I really know them. Like all these people were like, Gary, read my book to give me an endorsement. I'm like, motherfucker, I don't read books for casual reasons. So I can't do that, but yeah, I just can't do that.
Could you tweet it? If I send you a copy?
I don't know who the fuck you are. Can you romance the girl a little bit?
Yeah, well...
Can we build some fucking context before you ask for the fucking score?
Wow.
I've been trying to DM you and I didn't get a response.
That's
I
a start.
Yeah, I got sponsored in here today.
That's like buying me a drink. You just tried to take me to your room without even fucking romancing me.
I keep romancing.
Got it.
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
I'm one of your followers for a couple of years now who hasn't done anything.
Who hasn't done anything?
No.
I love you. By the way, I already love you so much because the first way to start doing shit is admitting it.
Sorry?
Admitting it. Like, you're now on the verge of potentially doing something.
Yes, yeah, definitely. But one of the things you said when you were talking was that once the big guns come in, it's going to be really difficult. So because I'm coming in quite late...
You're not.
Okay.
I don't know when the big guys are coming. I don't know what your niche is. You know, for him and I, it might work when it's $11 a CPM, $11 to get in front of 1,000 people, 82 of which see it, 17 of which convert. For you, it might be worth $400 a CPM. How many people here did SEO and SEM internet marketing in their career? Raise your hands. So if you guys and gals remember, like back in the day, there was all those words, like some of those weird cancers were worth like $300 a click and everybody was building like sites to like show up organically. Like every market is different. You are absolutely not late to Facebook and Instagram. If you were late, I promise you the 45-minute talk that I just gave would have been about some other subject completely.
So when it does actually happen, how...
I'm not Nostradamus.
No, I didn't ask you when you knew.
Oh, I
said,
can't hear it.
When it happens, have you got tips on how we would stay afloat or how we would be able to survive that?
You're worried about something in the future when you haven't done shit in the present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it? Got it?
Got it.
You'll fucking figure it out. Watch my vlog, I'll tell you.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Hi Gary.
How are you?
I just wanted to say thank you because you gave me the confidence to quit my 9-to-5 job that was making me fucking miserable back in July to pursue my dreams. I've got a fashion blog called She Goes Where. My niche is...
I didn't hear that last part.
I've got a fashion blog called She Goes Where. It's a workwear blog for women in business. I pitch to brands every day, and so many of them, they're just so follower focused.
Centric, yeah.
I've got 10,000 followers on Instagram. It's growing every day, but that's all they look at, and so many of them want me to work for free. How much should I be working for free, and how many?
You know, I'm a big fan of beggars can't be choosers, right? I gave a lot of speeches in 2006, 7, and 8 for free. A whole lot. Now I do not. So my answer to you is, look, I think this is how you do it. You ask for money. They say no, but they're willing to give you some clothes for free or whatever. And then you decide, well, I fucking like that blouse, so fuck it, I'll say yes. Like, to me, I think that I'm a very big fan of free if that's your only option. Here's what I would say to you. How many brands do you reach out to on a daily basis?
About 10 to 15.
Good.
I've got so many.
Good. And to me, like, I would make that 60 to 80 because it gives you a better chance to say no.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
You're limiting your opportunities to 10 to 15 Thus, you may have to work for free more often. If you asked 180 people a day, which I genuinely believe is possible because there's a trillion brands. Now, there may not be enough brands in what you're looking for, and I have empathy for that. But here's what I would say. The best way for you not to work for free or just for clothes is to ask more people to give you dollars.
Yeah. Because it's not a huge problem because some are paying me and some are coming back positive, but the majority are.
Let me give you a really good piece of advice. Brands very quickly, and I think by 2020 this will be more of the market, not less, are caring a lot more lately about depth, not width.
Yeah.
So let me tell you how I would audit your Instagram. If you were like my sister and like, hey, help me, I would look in your comments, and if you are not replying to every single person,
I do.
I love you.
Yeah.
That is huge. I'll tell you why. That will pay dividends for you. The other thing you should do is you should 100% reach out to people that have 250,000 followers or more and ask if they want to collab with you.
Yeah, that's what a friend I just met told me to do.
Your friend's smart. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And I would highly do it. Look, your job is to be in business development, comma, a lifestyle, personality.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you were like, hey, how do you think about my business? I would say you should sit on your fucking couch and DM an email for 9 hours a day and spend 1 hour a day creating content.
Yeah, because I think I'm taking too much time sending really long emails. I should just start DMing
Nobody wants
really
to read
quick.
your fucking
Yeah.
shit. Like, make the email like, yo, you want to give me money?
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants that much, especially brands or
Yeah.
people that are managing brands. The other thing you could be doing is tagging brands that you want to work with in your posts so that you become aware to them. But I think collabs, whoever your homie was that said that, I would spend a lot of time on building depth with your audience, which you're doing, right? Replying. Doing collabs to grow your base because more awareness will come to you. And spending an unbelievable amount of time business development to get dollars in.
Okay.
Rinse and fucking repeat. I answered every single tweet that I got on Twitter from 2007 to 2011. All of them. The least fucking scalable thing of all time. So, depth.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi Gary, great talk. My name's James Ski. I'm founder of salesconfidence.com. We all know that you get a lot of our attention because you're in our feeds every 2 seconds.
Yes.
But before you get up and get on the feed, what are the first thoughts that come into your mind? What are you actually thinking when you first wake up?
That's interesting. The first thing I'm thinking is, please God, let there be no fucking fires at the London office. Because the London office is ahead of me when I wake up in New York. I have enormous anxiety when I wake up, and I don't really have anxiety, so I call it micro business anxiety, that I literally flip over my phone and I look at all the texts, praying to God that there isn't some fire that I have to address immediately. Luckily, often I don't. So that's my first thoughts. What fire do I have to put out right now? The next thought is, depending on the season. So my next thought currently in the fall is, usually goes to what are the Jets gonna do this Sunday? Then I poop. Then I look at all my email and all my social to see if anything's brewing. Then I look at my calendar to figure out what I'm doing those 90 days. And then I'm thinking about what I want my first post to be based on an enormous amount of content that me and my team have been thinking about. Pick one, write the copy, and start my day.
Fantastic. Just one final thing, which is the Columbo trick, if anyone's ever heard of it. I'm in New York in February with Sales Confidence. What does it actually take to get on the Gary Vee show?
You'll definitely not get on the Gary Vee show.
Boo!
But you should absolutely email me. I've got this flight tomorrow. I got to answer a fuckload of tweets, and I'll go through email. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, or why you're asking that, or what you're trying to achieve.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, brother. One more.
Hello, Gary. All right, so.
Just one more question.
Yes.
Sorry, everyone.
You made me drop out of college, and my life is wonderful, first of all.
Thank you.
It was 2 years ago. I dropped out of college, did many businesses, 6 figures. I'm 19, and right now I'm mainly focused.
Are you a fucking life coach?
No.
I'm kidding. Keep going.
Right now I'm just focusing into taking all the leverage I've got and all the brands I've built and sell them right now, and then go into full-on applications and
Okay.
software businesses, SaaS businesses.
Are you doing that because you know that SaaS businesses are more valuable than media properties?
Sort of, but I like to have a recurring revenue every month, and then
But are
eventually.
you capable of building a SaaS product?
I do believe so.
Okay.
And application. So I've been a gamer for like my entire life, and I've been in Twitch a couple of times, not really that big, but now I'm focusing to building an application on my Android phone and iOS. So what would you say? Do you think it's a bad idea to stop doing my other businesses and selling them off to just go all in, like $100,000 investment in applications, or should I just, hang back for a bit?
You know, I like in this scenario, which I've seen a lot.
Yes.
Let me tell you how it plays out 99 out of 100 times. Kid sells the thing for 400,000, puts it in a much more competitive marketplace, which with way worse timing because you built those properties in a time when the land grab was real, fails, gets sad, starts over. 1 out of every 100 times, she or he builds a huge business and she was right. I like kid finds other hustler kid that's his homie, gives that kid 25% of the action once he vets 6 of his friends, finding out 5 are lazy and fucking suck.
I've got one already, Roy.
They all suck, right? Yeah, I get it. No, I'm just kidding. My intuition is money's cheap, so you might be able to raise capital off the back of the success you've had.
Okay.
You're giving up something that's working
Yes.
to then take a bet on what I believe is always a thesis that it's bigger, which is why I asked you.
Yes, that's right.
I don't like you doing it because of a thesis. I like you doing it because you can't breathe. You have an app or a SaaS product that you have to build because the market needs it. Is that the case, or is the case that you're smart and you realize these are bigger and better businesses, let me figure it out?
The former, because I've always been into gaming. I just want to build the application. I can't
Have you
read-
thought about building apps in Twitch, which I think is a grossly underpriced marketplace right now?
I considered it, but I found Android to be a bit more.
Cool. Listen, here's what I would say. Do you know the best fucking thing about being 19 is?
What?
You could fuck up for the next 20 years and still be young as fuck. So, for me, it's true. Who here is 39 or older? Raise your hands. You still feel young? You imagine if these fuckers understood what it actually felt like? I would tell you to go high risk, high reward, because you don't want to regret it, and at 19, you have 17 more rodeos in you.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Good luck.
All right. Okay, that was the brief Q&A. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up to Gary
Thank you
Vee
so
one more
much.
time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come on, London.
Poland girls. Yeah.
Come on, London.
Hit me up. I'll answer.
All right. So now we are going to have a photo session for those of you who have black or silver wristbands. Can you please line up right here for your photo session? For the rest of you, you're going to have a breakout session
For the rest
after
of you,
this.
fuck you, get out of here.
Thank you so much for being here. On behalf of Success Resources, we thank you for being here today and yesterday, and we are going to